Okay, here we are live again. If you're just tuning in, if you're watching this later, not as a live thing, then have a look in the description. I will put a link to how far ahead you need to jump to avoid all this waffle at the beginning. But in the meantime, I'm just going to do some housekeeping. I'm going to paste the link to the live feed in the Facebook group and all that stuff, so we can be found by people. So we'll probably start in about 5 minutes, I would say. So if you want to go and get a drink, get some snacks, that kind of thing, that's all good. So just bear with me while I post the link in various places. Posting it in there. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes, I would say. Make that window go away. Copy that and then go away. Okay, that's it. Okay, here we go. Posting on the Facebook group. Posting here. Right in the event. Here's the event. Okay, and then I'll just post in the group itself. Okay. Oh, I should also post a couple other little places online. I think that's basically everything. Feel free to skip all this bit at the beginning by looking at the description. I'll put the timestamp in there so you can jump to where the questions start. Once this is no longer a live video, it's just a normal video. Okay, right. I think I managed to spam that everywhere. Hi, everyone. Good of you to tune in. We're probably going to start in a couple of minutes, I would say. So grab yourself a drink. Tonight I'm drinking Aldi red wine. Mixed half and half with water because otherwise it makes me sleepy. And the last thing you want is a sleepy quiz host. Okay, if you're just tuning in for the first time, the way this works is I'm just basically doing what I would normally do on a Tuesday night, which is going to the pub and hosting a quiz night. It's what I've been doing on and off for probably 15 years now, and I've done a few big fundraising events, etc. I'm assuming everyone can hear me, although just noticed my microphone is not plugged in. Start to the day. Go with this now. Right, can you now hear me? Am I using the right microphone? Let me check if you can hear me anywhere. Can hear you anyway. Okay, I guess you were picking up on the microphone in the laptop. That's cool. That's not as catastrophic a mistake as it seemed. Good, but that's fine. Maybe it's better now. Cool. Does it sound like I'm being through this microphone or like this microphone? Anyway, doesn't matter. As long as you can hear me, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, the way this is going to work, we're going to have 50 questions. The first round is 20 questions that are reasonably easy. Definitely the second one. Okay, well, I probably don't need this. I don't know if I can change that in here. Probably not worth doing without everything breaking. So we'll just have to deal with that. Okay, as long as it sounds all right, that's fine. So yeah, the way this is going to work, we're going to have one round of 20 questions. They're not super easy questions, but they're easy-ish questions. And then I'll give you the answers to those. And then we're going to have another round of 20 questions that are a bit more difficult, less easy. And I'll give you the answers to those. And then we'll have the third round, which is quite difficult. So it's either very difficult or funny, silly. If you get any of those, you're doing pretty well. So this isn't interactive. I'm not going to be marking your answers. You can Google them all if you want. Doesn't bother me. But yeah, hopefully you'll learn something and have some fun. Sound good? 14 people tuned in already, so we may as well jump into it. If you do want to find out about more events in future, go to the Facebook page, and that is Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz, and you'll be able to be told about future events. Anyway, I can see in the YouTube comments, so if the sound does sound bad or anything, let me know. I've also got the Facebook page open, so you can let me know in there. And let's get started with the first round, which is the relatively easy round. Okay, here we go. So round one, question one. What is the phone number for the police assistance line used for non-emergency reporting? Okay, maybe that's not an easy question, but it should be, because everyone should know that, right? So if you don't know it, you will by the end of this quiz. So round one, question one is, what is the phone number for the police assistance line used for non-emergency reporting? So it's not 000, that's for emergencies. If you haven't got an emergency, just want to report something in a non-emergency way, then you can call this number. What's the number? All right, question two. Which herb has varieties including sweet, Thai, lemon, holy, holy Thai, and African blue? So question two is, which herb has varieties including sweet, Thai, lemon, holy, holy Thai, and African blue? Sounds like laptop. Yep, probably is laptop. I didn't have my USB microphone plugged in. Anyway, that's a lesson learned. Doesn't seem to be any obvious way to change it in YouTube, and I don't want to just break everything by clicking random settings. So as long as it works, that's fine. So question three, which actor has played James Bond in the last 4 movies and in the upcoming 25th movie in the franchise? Question three, which actor has played James Bond in the last 4 movies and in the upcoming 25th movie in the franchise? 16 people online, that's good. Question 4, in golf, to score an eagle means to score how many under par on a hole? So question 4, in golf, to score an eagle means to score how many under par on a hole? Right, if you're just tuning in, we're only a small way into the first round of 20 questions, and then we'll have the answers after that. You can put the answers in the chat, but kind of defeats the point. You're better off just giving the answer to yourself and then seeing if you get them right when I give you the answers in a few minutes' time. Question 5. Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman are the major characters in which animated TV series? Yeah, this isn't interactive. You're basically playing against yourself, against the quiz, against your friends. You don't need to type the answers into the chat. You just mark them down or make a note of them in your head and see how you go. All right, question 6. In terms of volume, 1 metric cup in Australia is how many milliliters? So question 6, in terms of volume, 1 metric cup in Australia is how many milliliters? It's probably the same everywhere, but I figured I'd narrow it down to Australia. Question 7, the currencies of Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka all share which name? Question 7, the currencies of Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka all share which name? Question 8, a drug described as hemostatic has what effect? Question 8, a drug or herb described as hemostatic has what effect? So if you're just tuning in, we're about halfway through the first round, but there's more rounds to come. Question 9, which iconic puzzle video game invented by Alexei Pajitnov of the Soviet Union and since transferred to virtually every personal or handheld computer platform since, recently celebrated its 35th birthday? So which iconic puzzle video game invented in the Soviet Union and since found on virtually every personal or handheld computer platform recently celebrated its 35th birthday? Question 10, halfway through the first round, the relatively easy round, is if you were in a Spanish-speaking country and you ordered a cerveza, what would you expect to receive? So question 10, if you were in a Spanish-speaking country and you ordered a cerveza, what would you expect to receive? Speaking of which, is that a clue? Maybe, maybe not. All right, question 11. On the London-inspired Monopoly board, what is the most expensive property? Standard trivia question number 27. So that's question 11. On the London-inspired Monopoly board, what is the most expensive property? All right, question 10. No, question 12 is which studio did the Beatles use to record 191 songs? Question 12, which studio did the Beatles use to record 191 songs? I don't know how many albums, but a lot of songs. Pretty sure Pink Floyd used it as well. Pretty much everybody did, I think. Question 13, 90% of the world's earthquakes occur around the edges of which ocean? The correct Monopoly board, but not the first Monopoly board. That's another trivia question, is which city was the original Monopoly board based on? Maybe I'll do that next week. Do some homework for you. Which one would you just do? Question 13, 90% of the world's earthquakes occur around the edges of which ocean? Right, question 14. Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, and Roger Daltrey were better known by what collective name? Question 14. Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, and Roger Daltrey were better known by what collective name? If you're just tuning in, we're nearly, well, 3/4 of the way through the first round. Then we'll have the answers, and then we'll start the second round. Good to hear. People can hear me okay. That's good. Slightly lower audio quality this week because I didn't plug in my fancy microphone until it was too late. That's all right. Seems to be working anyway. Okay, question 15. To the nearest year, how often does Halley's Comet return to Earth? Well, some people say Halley's Comet. But question 15, to the nearest year, how often does Halley's Comet return to Earth? It's a little bit of variation, so I'll accept one of two answers, either one of two answers. And if you want a bonus point for that question, you can tell me when was the last year that Halley's Comet could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. So question 15 is, to the nearest year, how often does Halley's Comet return to Earth? I realize there's a little bit of leeway in that question, so I'm going to take one of two answers. And for a bonus point, when was the last time you could see Halley's Comet from Earth with the naked eye? I'm just going to add that into the bonus question so I remember to give you the point for it. Okay. Question 16. Russell Crowe was arrested in New York City in 2005 and charged with second-degree assault after throwing what at a hotel employee? Question 16. Russell Crowe was arrested in New York City in 2005 and charged with second-degree assault after throwing what at a hotel employee? Okay, question 17. What was the name of the Lone Ranger's horse? Question 17. What was the name of the Lone Ranger's horse? Okay, question 18, getting towards the end of the first round. In which team sport do sweepers travel down the sheet with the rock towards the house? So question 18, In which team sport do sweepers travel down the sheet with the rock towards the house? Alrighty, a little bit of Facebook housekeeping. That's all good. Okay, question 19. Kippers, roll mops, and surströmming are all ways of preparing which fish? So question 19. Kippers, roll mops, and surströmming are all ways of preparing which fish? And question 20, the last question in round one, a relatively easy round. Which Australian state was the first to abolish the death penalty? Question 20, which Australian state was the first to abolish the death penalty? All right, I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about those and finalize your answers. Feel free to say hi in the Facebook page, that's Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz, or in the YouTube comments here. In case you're wondering about today's headgear, you might remember we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a question, the answer was Mali. It's a country in West Africa. Well, this hat was bought for me by a friend who worked in Mali for a while. I don't know what it's called. Some sort of traditional Mali hat. It's got like a bird and it's got a stripy. Oh, it's kind of cool. Don't know what it's called. Feel free to Google it and let me know. All right, so we'll go through the answers to round one now. If you're ready. So the answers to round one. Question one was, what is the phone number for the police assistance line? That's a national number used for non-emergency reporting. That is 131444. If you didn't know it, well, you've learned something useful. You can use that if you need to ring the police, but it's not an emergency. Question two, which herb has varieties including sweet Thai, lemon, holy Thai, and African blue? That is basil. Question three, which actor has played James Bond in the last 4 movies and will play him in the upcoming 25th movie? That is Daniel Craig. Question four was, in golf, to score an eagle means to score how many under par? That is 2 under par. 1 under par is a birdie, 3 under par is a double eagle or an albatross, and then it goes on from there, but they become increasingly much less likely. All right, question 5 was, Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman are the major characters in which animated TV series? That is South Park, which is going for like 20 years or something now, crazy. Question 6, in terms of volume, 1 metric cup in Australia is 250 millilitres. Question 7 was, the currencies of Pakistan, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka all share which name? That is the rupee, R-U-P-E-E. Question 8 was, a drug or herb described as hemostatic has what effect? It stops bleeding. Hemo from blood, static, as in not moving, stops bleeding. Question 9, which iconic puzzle video game from the Soviet Union? That was, of course, Tetris. I think it was invented in 1984. They turned 35 recently. All right, question 10 was, if you were in a Spanish-speaking country and ordered a cerveza, what would you expect to receive? You would hopefully receive a beer. Un cerveza, por favor. They also use the word birra for beer, but cerveza means beer. Question 11, on the London-inspired Monopoly board, the most expensive property is Mayfair. Okay, question 12, which studio did the Beatles use to record 191 songs? That was Abbey Road. That's in the album cover with the 4 of them on the pedestrian crossing out the front of Abbey Road. Question 13 was, 90% of the world's earthquakes occur around the edges of which ocean? That's the Pacific Ocean, as in the Pacific, I think it's Rim of Fire, they call it, where all the volcanoes and faults are. Okay, question 14. Pete Townsend, John Entwistle, Keith Moon, and Roger Daltrey were better known as The Who. Question 15, to the nearest year, how often does Halley's Comet return to Earth? It's every 75 to 76 years. It varies a little bit due to space reasons. And the bonus question was, in which year was it last seen in the sky from Earth with the naked eye? I am pretty sure it's 1986. Let's see if I was right. Halley's Comet last visit into Google, 1986. I remember it because I was a kid and we went to a dark park and we all looked up and we could see it in the sky. It was pretty cool. Okay, What are we up to now? Question 16. Russell Crowe was arrested because he threw a telephone at a hotel employee. That was question 16. Question 17. What was the name of the Lone Ranger's horse? It was Silver, as in hi-ho, Silver, away. Question 18. In which team sport do sweepers travel down the sheet with the rock towards the house? That is curling, as in where they get that rock and they slide and the people go along there scooping with the brooms and everything. That's curling. It's been an official Winter Olympic Games sport since the 1998 Games. There you go. If you got curling, that's spelling with a C, then you're right. Question 19. Kippers, rollmops, and surströmming, they're all ways of preparing herring. So not sardines, it's sort of same family, but herring is a specific fish, not pilchards either. So kippers are smoked herring, rollmops are pickled herrings, and surströmming, popular in Scandinavia, is fermented herring. And apparently it's pretty much the worst smelling thing in the universe. Question 20 was, which Australian state was the first to abolish the death penalty? It was Queensland in 1922. They were way ahead of the game because it wasn't until 1968 that Tasmania followed, and New South Wales didn't completely abolish the death penalty until 1985. Wow. Okay, so how'd you go in round one? Let me know in the comments. If you do want to be informed of future events like this, just like the Facebook page, Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz, or just be tuned in around 7:30 most Tuesday nights until this COVID thing and maybe beyond, who knows. Ad's got 19. He says we, though. Sounds like a bit of a team there. Elated Matt got 16. It's pretty good. And I think Naomi's earlier comment was an answer. A score of 2 in the first round, I'm pretty sure. Let me just do a little bit more Facebook housekeeping. People are commenting. 15 out of 20. Nice one, Simone. 12 from Glenda. Good little Ben got 19. Naomi got 15. Pretty good. Nice one. Yeah, 19 is pretty good. 11. That's all right, Davey. All right, so let's get started with round 2. This is the less easy, slightly more difficult. We'll see how you go with this one. 12, pretty good, Georgia. All right, so round 2, less easy. Hopefully not too hard, but less easy. Okay, question 1 of round 2. The Titanic sank in 1912 on its maiden voyage to which city? So the Titanic sank in 1912. Everyone knows that. Where was it going? What was its destination that it unfortunately did not reach because it ran into an iceberg and sank? Simone, 15, pretty good. Good little bean says 19, I have help tonight. Who's helping you? Someone who knows their trivia. All right, question 1 was the Titanic sank on its way to which city? Question 2 of round 2. What name is given to a Greek dish of sauteed eggplant, tomato, and minced lamb, arranged in layers and topped with a bechamel sauce and baked? It's kind of like Greek eggplant lasagna, I guess you could say, but it's not called lasagna. So what name is given to a Greek dish of sauteed eggplant, tomato, and minced lamb, arranged in layers, topped with a bechamel sauce and baked? Oh, this talk of food's making me thirsty. Okay, question 3. 2300 is the postcode for which Australian city? It's very tasty, says Ad, but does he know the name of it? Question 3 is 2300 or 2300 is the postcode for which Australian city? All right, question 4. Which French singer had the nickname the Little Sparrow? Question 4. Which French singer had the nickname the Little Sparrow? I'm not really big on eggplant, so I don't know if I would like the answer to question 2, but anyway, actually had lasagna for dinner, so. Question 5. In which year was the Australian $1 coin released? Question 5. In which year was the Australian $1 coin released? Round 2 is seeming a little difficult so far, I have to say. Hope you're all doing okay. Question 6. What is the capital city of California in the USA? Question 6. What is the capital city of California in the USA? Facebook, clicky, clicky. Okay, question 7. What is the more common name for pertussis? Pertussis. What is the more common name for pertussis? Question 8. Which major island lies in the Indian Ocean opposite the coast of Mozambique? It's a major island. It's like one of the biggest ones. So question 8, which major island lies in the Indian Ocean opposite the coast of Mozambique? Question 9, nearly halfway through this, I think probably fairly difficult round 2, I have to say. Question 9, what are the 2 cities, you can have a point for each one, what are the 2 cities in Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities? It's a book by Charles Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. What are the 2 cities that are the subject of the book? Question 10, speaking of cities, if someone is referred to as a Scouser or Scouse, which city are they probably from? Question 10, if someone is referred to as a Scouser or Scouse, which city are they probably from? I'm very quiet in the comments, people's brains churning madly. No time for chit chat. Concentrate on the trivia. Question 10 we just had. Question 11, African sleeping sickness is caused by parasites spread by which insect? Question 11, African sleeping sickness is caused by parasites spread by which insect? All right, question 12. In the opera The Barber of Seville by Rossini, what is the name of the Barber of Seville? So question 12, in the opera The Barber of Seville by Rossini, what is the name of the Barber of Seville? So it's a character in the opera, has a real name. You'll know it. Well, obviously you'll know it when you hear it, but you'll realize why it was a question when you hear it. All right, question 13 in our, I think, surprisingly difficult second round this week. Hattie McDaniel was the first person of color to win an Academy Award, and she won it for her role in which 1939 film? So question 13, Hattie McDaniel was the first person of color, who's African American, to win an Academy Award for her role in which 1939 film? So I want the name of the film. All right, question 14. What is the better known name, or you could say stage name, of the opera singer Helen Porter Mitchell? Question 14. What's the better known name or stage name of the opera singer Helen Porter Mitchell? Question 15. During which emperor's reign did the Great Fire of Rome occur in 64 AD? Question 15. During which emperor's reign did the Great Fire of Rome occur in 64 AD? So who was the emperor of Rome at the time of the Great Fire in 64 AD? Question 16. In September 2008, Quentin Bryce became the 25th Governor General of Australia. What was unique about this appointment? Question 16. In September 2008, Quentin Bryce became the 25th Governor General of Australia. What was unique about this appointment? So what was unique about that happening? All right, question 17. Which windy Western Australian town's name means hope in French? Which windy Western Australian town's name means hope in French? Question 18. Which Australian actor played James Bond in the 1969 film On Her Majesty's Secret Service? Question 18. Which Australian actor played James Bond in the 1969 film On Her Majesty's Secret Service? Much maligned film. I think it's not too bad. I think he did all right in it. Question 19. What is the furthest man-made object from the Earth? So what's the name of the man-made object which has traveled the furthest away from the Earth? So question 19, what's the furthest man-made object from the Earth? And you've got to be specific. There's a potential for half a point here, but you can get the full point if you're specific and correct. And question 20, this one for some reason needs more explaining than it should, but question 20 is, for 1 point each, name the 2 countries in Europe whose names begin and end with different vowels. So, for 1 point each, name the 2 countries in Europe whose names begin and end with different vowels. So, for example, you couldn't say India, firstly because it's not in Europe, but also because it begins with an I and it ends with an I, so that's the same vowel. You want 2 countries in Europe whose names begin with one vowel and end with a different vowel. Okay, does that make sense? Good. All right, I'll give you another couple of minutes to work out your answers to round 2 while I do a bit of Facebook housekeeping stuff, clicking away, checking various other places online. Why does that never post correctly? All right, what do you think of that round? It's tough. I guess we'll know when we get the answers. We get the scores afterwards. Okay, so now we're going to have the answers to round 2. If you're ready. You're still frantically running through the names of all the countries in Europe in your mind. All right, we'll go a bit more slowly through the answers to round 2. So if you're just tuning in, we've just finished round 2. I'm going to give the answers to round 2, and then we're going to start our very difficult round 3. But you can always watch this video at the same URL you're watching it now. You can watch it in the future, and you'll be able to see round 1 and round 2, and just as if you were playing along live. And if you do want to be informed about future games, then like the Facebook page, Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz, or subscribe to this YouTube channel, I suppose. Okay, so round 2. Here's the answers. The first one was, the Titanic sank in 1912 on its maiden voyage to which city? Its destination was New York City. Quite famously, it didn't make it, unfortunately. Question 2 was, what name is given to a Greek dish of sauteed eggplant, etc.? That is moussaka. Spelling is not important, but M-O-U-S-S-A-K-A, moussaka. Question 3 was 2300 or 2300 is the postcode for which Australian city? Did you get this? It was Newcastle. Newcastle in New South Wales, obviously, begins with a 2. Question 4, which French singer had the nickname The Little Sparrow? That was Edith Piaf. She was born Edith Giovanna Gassion, but she was given the nickname Piaf as a child. Piaf is a colloquial French word for a sparrow. There you go. So Edith Piaf is the answer round 4. Question 5, in which year was the Australian $1 coin released? That was 1984. Good year, the year I came to Australia. Question 6, what is the capital city of California in the USA? That is Sacramento. Sacramento, California. You've got to know your US capitals. I do wonder why you always get US capital questions in trivia rounds, but you never get UK county towns, which are essentially the same thing. Anyway, maybe I'll do a round. Question 7, what is the more common name for pertussis? That is whooping cough. The pertussis is whooping cough, which I believe there is a vaccine for now, so that's good. Question 8, which major island lies in the Indian Ocean opposite the coast of Mozambique? That is Madagascar. It's like one of the top 10 largest islands in the world. Pretty major. Question 9, what are the 2 cities in Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities? They are Paris and London. If you only got one right, you can have a point. 1 point each, that's fine. Question 10, if someone is referred to as a Scouser or Scouse, they are probably from Liverpool in England. Question 11, African sleeping sickness is caused by parasites spread by the tsetse fly, TSE fly, tsetse fly, not mosquitoes, different thing. Question 12, what is the name of the Barber of Seville? It is Figaro. You know, I'm not going to sing it, but you know the song. Yeah, that's the one. That's from the Barber of Seville. His name's Figaro. All right, question 13. Hattie McDaniel was the first person of color to win an Academy Award. She was in the film Gone with the Wind, 1939 film, bit of a giveaway. She played Mummy. Question 14. The better known name of that opera singer was Dame Nellie Melba. Question 15. During which emperor's reign did the Great Fire of Rome occur? We've heard the saying, Nero fiddled while Rome burned. Well, that's why. It was Emperor Nero was the answer. And it's become a phrase nowadays for leaders who basically do nothing during times of crisis, or who do not anything useful during times of crisis. If you want to draw any parallels to the present day, you're perfectly entitled to do that. Question 16 in nerd question. Oh, you wound me. I wonder which one was the nerd question. There's no Star Trek questions. Anyway, question 16 was, in September 2008, Quentin Bryce became the 25th Governor-General of Australia. What was unique? Oh, yes, of course. Burning software. Very good. Nero burning software. Okay. I doff my nerd hat to a fellow nerd. The answer to that, question 16, what was unique is that she was the first female Governor-General of Australia. So the first female Governor-General was the unique thing about that. There'll never be another first female Governor-General. Question 17, which windy Western Australian town's name means hope in French? That is Esperance. Esperance, I've been there, it's all right. Question 18, which Australian actor played James Bond in the 1969 film On Her Majesty's Secret Service? It is George Lazenby, or Lazenby. And again, I think that movie gets panned, but it's not too bad. I liked it. And it's got Diana Rigg as a Bond girl. I mean, come on. Question 19, what is the farthest man-made object from the Earth? It is Voyager 1. Voyager 1, launched in 1977, now 22 billion kilometers from the Earth. Voyager 2 was launched 2 weeks before Voyager 1, because their missions were different and the windows were different, but Voyager 1 overtook Voyager 2. So yes, the answer is Voyager 1. If you got Voyager, yeah, you can have half a point. If you got Voyager 1, you're correct. If you got Voyager 2, you can decide amongst yourself. And question 20 for 1 point each. Did you get this? Name the 2 countries in Europe whose names begin and end with different vowels. Well, we have Estonia and Ukraine. There you go. How'd you go in that round? I thought that was quite difficult. I got about halfway through that and I was thinking, this is quite a difficult round. So let me know how you went in the comments. And in a few moments, we'll get started on our generally quite difficult round 3, 11 from ads. Matt got Estonia, very good. Glenda got 14, Kat got 10.5, pretty good. A good little bean got 21. That's very impressive. You did say you had help. Did you say who you had help from? Let me scroll up and see if you... No, you just said you had help. Let me know who's helping you, because they need to jump on their own account. $17. Help from Google. Yeah, maybe. All right. All right, a little bit more Facebook housekeeping. I don't even really know how to load that properly again. There you go. That worked. Click that. That worked. 17 in round 2, says Simone. Very good. Okay. All right. So we get started on the 3rd round. 13 from Davey. Hey, you did better in the 2nd round than you did in the 1st round. Little Bean says, my wife, she's clever. Well, she certainly knows her trivia. Okay, so round 3. This is our difficult / silly / funny. I don't think there's any silly or funny ones, but anyway, we'll see how we go. If you get any of these, you're doing pretty well. Okay. The question one, maybe not that hard. Which electronic music star chose his stage name because one of his ancestors is the novelist Herman Melville? Right, it is round three. Question one, which electronic music star chose his stage name because one of his ancestors is the novelist Herman Melville? Obviously, the key to that one is knowing who the novelist Herman Melville is. All right, question two. What was the name of the container ship that ran aground on Nobby's Beach during a major storm in Newcastle, New South Wales in June 2007? If that question gives you the urge to smack yourself on the forehead because you can't quite remember it, that's the correct answer. Well, that's the correct response. Question two, what was the name of the container ship that ran aground on Nobby's Beach during a major storm in Newcastle, New South Wales in June 2007? You remember the name? It was on the ship. You can see the photos on the newspaper and everything. Question three, why was Muhammad Ali stripped of his championship title and boxing license in 1967? Question three, why was Muhammad Ali stripped of his championship title and his boxing license in 1967? What did he do? Question four, the song Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer was the theme tune to which movie? It is round three. That's one of those ones you either know or you don't. Much like every trivia question, I suppose. Question four, the song Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer was the theme tune to which movie? Question five, according to the Bible, because Moses felt he was slow of speech and slow of tongue, who spoke on his behalf? Question five, according to the Bible, because, what, you're old enough to remember the Bible, Matt? I assume you were referring to question four. But anyway, question five is, according to the Bible, because Moses felt he was slow of speech and slow of tongue, who spoke on his behalf? Matt says he's old enough to remember the Harold Faltermeyer song. Question six, for 1 point each. Name the two South American countries which do not have a border with Brazil. This is round three, remember. Question six, for 1 point each. Name the two South American countries which do not have a border with Brazil. All right, question seven. This is a fairly long and wordy one. Question seven, between the 30th of June and the 2nd of July, 1934, the Nazi Party carried out a series of at least 85 political assassinations and over 1,000 arrests. This purge was referred to as what? So question seven, between June 30th and July 2nd, 1934, the Nazi Party carried out a series of at least 85 political assassinations and over 1,000 arrests. This purge of Hitler's political opponents was referred to as what? Question eight, which Portuguese explorer was the first person, well, the first person known, I suppose, which Portuguese explorer was the first to sail directly from Europe to India? Question eight, which Portuguese explorer was the first to sail directly from Europe to India? If you're just tuning in, you're joining us towards the end of our traditionally quite difficult third round, but you can always remember this URL. When this video stops being live, it'll just be a normal video, and you can watch it later as if it's live. And you'll hear round one and round two. All right, now, you remember last week we had a question about Australian Prime Ministers. This week, question 9, how many UK Prime Ministers have there been since the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II? Question 9, how many UK Prime Ministers have there been since the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II? So we had the Australian version of that last week. I don't know if you can remember the answer to that, but it's interesting to compare the two questions, the two answers. And again, if someone has been in twice, then we only count them once because it's the number, it's the people, it's not the number of terms, it's how many prime ministers, how many people have been prime minister since the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. Good. And question 10, the last normal question of the night. We'll probably do a who am I after this, but question 10 of round 3. What was the first real world thing ever purchased with Bitcoin? So question 10, what was the first real world thing ever purchased with Bitcoin? Okay, that was round 3. Moderately difficult? I don't know. Fairly difficult, I think. Give you a minute or so to run through your mental list of UK prime ministers and World War II history and theme tunes to movies. All right, so we go through the answers to round 3. Here we go. So round 1, question 1 of round 3, quite difficult round 3, was which electronic music star chose his stage name because one of his ancestors is the novelist Herman Melville? Well, Herman Melville, of course, wrote Moby Dick, and the electronic music artist is Moby. Question 2, what was the name of the container ship that ran aground in Newcastle in June 2007? It was the Pasha Bulker, Pasha space Bulker. It's now called MV Drake, or it was when I last looked up this question. But at the time, you could see it written across the back of it in the newspaper photos, Pasha Bulker. Question 3, why was Muhammad Ali stripped of his championship title and boxing license in 1967? It was because he refused military service in Vietnam and he was convicted of draft dodging. So they stripped him of his title and license and stuff. Pretty rough. Anyway, question 4 was the song Axel F by Harold Faltermeyer was the theme tune to which movie? It was, of course, Beverly Hills Cop. It's a very distinctive song, probably most known to people nowadays by the Crazy Frog version, which is very irritating. All right, question 5 was, according to the Bible, because Moses felt he was slow of speech and slow of tongue, who spoke on his behalf? It was his brother Aaron. So the answer to question 5 is Aaron. Question 6, for 1 point each, name the 2 South American countries which do not have a border with Brazil. That is Ecuador and Chile. Is that right? Chile doesn't have a border with Brazil. I know Chile's the long, skinny one, and Brazil's the big, fat one. Anyway. Question 7, between June the 30th and July the 2nd, 1934, the Nazi Party carried out a series of at least 85 political assassinations and over 1,000 arrests. This purge was referred to as the Night of the Long Knives or Operation Hummingbird. It's not Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht was an action against the Jews, but Night of the Long Knives or Operation Hummingbird was against Hitler's political opponents. So no points for Kristallnacht, but you get a point if you got the Night of the Long Knives or Operation Hummingbird, or whatever that is in German. Question 8, which Portuguese explorer was the first to sail directly from Europe to India? That was Vasco da Gama. Not as remembered as some other explorers, but Vasco da Gama was the first to go directly from Europe to India. Question 9, how many UK prime ministers have there been since the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II? The answer is 14. And they were Churchill, Eden, Macmillan, Douglas Home, which is one, Wilson, Heath, Callaghan, Thatcher, Major, Blair, Brown, Cameron, May, and Johnson. There you go. And question 10, what was the first real-world thing ever purchased with Bitcoin? It was 2 pizzas from Papa John's. They were bought for 10,000 Bitcoin, which was worth approximately $30 USD at the time in May 2010. Right now, they'd be worth about $120 million Australian. At their peak in December 2017, they were worth 290 million Australian dollars. Right, that's a very expensive pizza. Woo, 1 point from Cat, 3 points from Ads. All right. Well, I thought that was not too bad around 3. 4 out of 10 for round 3 from Simone. That's still pretty good. Pretty good. All right, now I think I will do a Who Am I, which you can use 3.5 from Matt, 2 from Glenda. I do a Who Am I think that was popular last time. That way, if you were in a tiebreaker situation at home, a good little bean got 7 out of 11. Were there 11 points on offer in that round? Probably. Yeah, anyway. 3 from Georgia, 5 from Naomi, pretty good. All right, so I'll do a Who Am I? So yeah, if you're in a tiebreaker situation at home, 5 for Davey, nice one. Then you can, the way this works is I'm going to read out clues that start fairly obscure and become more obvious. If you think as we go along that you know the answer, have a crack at the answer. If you're wrong, you're out. You don't get the point, or you don't win, or whatever. And if you are right, then you do win. But the point is you want to be sure of your answer. So you have to sort of balance beating the other person and being sure of your answer. And if you're just playing on your own, that's fine. Just play along and see how you go. See at what point you can figure out the correct answer. And to make it a little bit different tonight, I'm not going to do a person, who am I? I'm going to do a year, who am I? So the facts start out fairly obscure and then become more and more obvious as we go along. So you ready for that? Who am I? Which year am I? Latvia officially adopts the euro as its currency. I'll be very impressed if you get it on that, unless you're listening from Latvia. The second fact, Prince Jacques of Monaco is born. Belgium becomes the first country in the world to legalize euthanasia for terminally ill patients of any age. Next fact, Joko Widodo was inaugurated as the 7th president of Indonesia. Next fact, the USA and several Arab partners begin a campaign of airstrikes in Syria. New South Wales Premier Barry O'Farrell introduces laws to prevent one-hit punches, including mandatory jail sentences. Starting to narrow it down now. The Commonwealth Games take place in Glasgow, Scotland. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17 crashes in eastern Ukraine after being shot down by a missile. The FIFA World Cup is held in Brazil and won by Germany. And the last fact, the Winter Olympics are held in Sochi in Russia. All right, you think you figured it out? Worked out what year it is? The answer is 2014. So you get a bonus point if you got that right. Well done. Everyone's typing 2014. Okay, cool. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. That was fun. Okay, everyone's typing the answer. I don't know if I'm getting a delay on the comments coming up. I probably am. I've already given the answer and I know I've got a half a page full of correct answers. That's cool. So yeah, I hope you had fun. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll probably hang around for another minute or so while I do a bit more Facebook housekeeping stuff. Elated Matt says he's been Googling lots of strange Marley hats, but none of them look like yours. I don't, it's a pretty simple design, really. Sort of a squarish top and round. I'll have to ask my friend if he remembers what they're called. Cool, hope you had fun. Probably do the same thing again next Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Sydney time, however that works out for you. But if you want to be informed, you can go on the Facebook page, Virtual Aussie Pub Quiz. You can like it and stuff. Made you use your brain. Good. I hope you're all doing well with this whole COVID thing. For me, life's not too different. I'm still going to work every day and going home, so it's not too different. I hope it's not affecting you too badly, health-wise or economically or anything. But yeah, hope you had fun tonight, and see you next week, hopefully. Feel free to contact me through the Facebook message thing if you have any comments or feedback or you want us to submit some questions. And I'll See you next week. Bye.